Lady Shayo Speaks, and I have a very seasoned lawyer, our learned friend in the house today, in the person of Mrs. Omolabake Adetunbi. She's a lawyer, she's a real estate expert, and I'm going to quickly read her profile so that we don't waste time because we have a lot of things to discuss. So first of all, I'd like to say, Omolabake, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for honoring my invitation. She's my big auntie. I'm always calling her at awkward times of the day. She's always there for me. And, you know, when I said, would she like to come and discuss, you know, and share more with us about real estate, she honored my invitation. So I'd like to say a very big thank you. So I'm quickly going to read her profile so that we understand a little bit more about her. So she is a lawyer of over 30 years post-call experience. She's a mediator with the Lagos State Multidoor Court House and an entrepreneur. She's been an entrepreneur for close to 30, in fact, I'd say over 30 years. She owns Legal City. And of course, like I said earlier, she's a realtor. And she is passionate about real estate. And since she got her certification in 2017, she has closed over 376 deals. That is a lot. I mean, real estate, we're not talking of rice and beans here. Real estate, 376 deals. In property investment. That is fantastic. So she specializes in residential real estate, and she's one of the top brokers, not only in her network, I'd like to say in Nigeria. She's an alumni of the Lagos Business School, where she did the OMP, that's the Owner Management Program, and also other certifications in real estate. She also has a lot of other certifications from the Metropolitan University, Dubai. So madam, we'd like to say welcome once again to the show. Now, I've read your profile and we've seen all these wonderful things, but can you tell us one or two things about yourself that are not in the profile?
So hello everyone. My name is Labake, like you said. I think one of the things I have, I'm passionate about sales. I've been in sales all my life. I literally can sell ice to an Eskimo. So, and in my spare time, one or two times, a few times I've acted. I used to be a stage actress when I was in the university, and sometimes I like to veer into Nollywood again and do one or two scenes here and there.
I really need to see the movies there, the Nollywood movies that you acted in. Okay, that's fantastic. Right. So Nollywood acting as part of the mix. That's interesting. Now I'm going to quickly go into the discussion for today. And I've heard you use a word. You say that you create a relationship between a property and someone seeking to buy, between individuals and their desired property. There's a particular way you put it.
Matchmaker. I'm the matchmaker.
Matchmaker, right, yes. So you are the real estate matchmaker. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Why did you use the word matchmaker?
So what I've seen over the years basically is that real estate is like a love affair. So Shayo, when you wanted to get your house or whenever you're house hunting, maybe your husband probably say that you need to go, the house needs to talk to you. So literally real estate is like a love affair. I introduce my clients, I profile them, and then think about it and take on the role of a matchmaker and say, okay, after speaking to Shayo, she's going to need a property that is a 4-bedroom, and then leave them to have a love affair with themselves. And it's like you go in there and say, oh, I like this, but I don't want this. Just exactly like your matchmaking, having a relationship. So you take so what I do basically is I matchmake my clients with properties and investments
that's an interesting perspective, matchmaking. Okay, so now in this matchmaking activity, a lot of people have wanted to invest in real estate and they've gotten their fingers burnt. They don't know how to go about it. A lot of people have come to me with all sorts of lofty ideas, and I'm always skeptical about it because I really don't know who they are, what they're involved in. I don't know the background. So for newbies trying to get into the real estate investment business, or try to start investing in new real estate, what would be your advice? What are the things to watch out for?
It basically is that number one, background checks. you look at the background of the person that is selling the property to you and have a kind of background check. And then you look at the work and you try to work with tried and tested realtors. There are quite a number of realtors that have been tried and tested. And then how do you look at that? You look at their track record. And then to check their track record, evidence of work done. I could refer you to, if you ask me off my head, I could just give you like 10 of my clients that have either bought properties or done investments, and I can give you their contacts and say, call them right away, and they will tell you about me. It's always good to have the track record, to check the evidence, and then ask someone again to do some CSI, some forensics on the person that you want to buy the property from, so that just to know that today. And then if you are dealing with developers, which a lot of diasporans do, also check on previous works done, the estates have delivered. I think the quality of the houses that they've been delivering. Have somebody go there, have someone talk to the neighbors, have someone that lives in the estates, and just ask in the industry for information. And then obviously, and of course, before you release your money, make sure that you double check everything.
Now, that leads me to ask, I know that you render some of these services. Can you just quickly tell us some of the services that you render? Because I remember you mentioned forensics and some other things. So quickly tell us the services you render. And for the viewers out there, I'm going to put the links to her channels and how you can contact her in case you need her services, and if you're interested in investing in real estate. So please share it with us, some of the things that you do.
Some of the services that we render, of course, sales of land and property. That's number one, especially with focus on Lekki, Bejuleki, and Ekpe axis. Then we do forensics for people. We kind of do checks for you and all that. We have the legal search, where we go into the lands registry and check the documentation. And then we also don't want to sign any document, any legal document. We want to help you to check and dot the I's and cross all the T's and make sure that your interests are covered. And then we had again sales of land and property, forensics, if you want us to do searches for you. So you already have your deed of assignments and all that. We want to check your certificates of occupancy. We check all that for you. Then we do the legal documentations, which includes draftings of the agreements and also double checking agreements that have been drafted for you. Then maintenance. So you have been out of the country. You want someone to help you look after the property. We also have that maintenance arm. And then the lettings. Do you want to use the property as an Airbnb or short lease or a long lease? We look at all that for you. And then we render legal advice. Legal advice means maybe you're probably going into a joint venture or partnership, or you want to do that. So we look at the dynamics of that and render the advice for you. So that's a bit of what I do.
Wow. So you are the go-to person in anything real estate. Now, there are quite a number of people who want to invest in real estate, but don't know how much do we need? Because when you look at some of these properties, you're seeing 45 million, hundreds million. Some pieces of land, a piece of land, they will tell you 50 million. And then you said you are in Lekki axis, and we know that the kind of properties in that axis are million properties. So for newbies that just want to start, and we don't want to go and buy land in Mowe and some other places, we want to buy land in Lekki. How much do we really need to start?
Thank you. Well, I would always say something. A lot of people think Lekki and Ibeju is expensive. So please, let me disabuse your mind. It is affordable. You just mentioned 44 and 50 million. 50 million is just about, is it up to 50,000 pounds or so? But then let's leave that. So what I always tell people is this: start now and start with what you have. 80%, I would literally say, okay, 70% of my clients are in diaspora. They're in either the US or the UK. And when they come to me, they're always like, I don't have the money. Start with what you have now. What can you afford? Start with what you have saved. And what I've discovered is it's a biblical thing, and land is biblical. The rod in your hand, you'll be amazed what can happen, and the multiplier effect of what you have in your hand, what can happen. So I always tell people, pray about it and ask God, do you want to go into land or do you want to go into properties? And then some people want to start small and build the portfolio. So they don't want to start with a 45 or 100 million house, but they can buy a 5 million land and pay in installments. There's always installmental payments. I've seen some people that have started this year. I've done a transaction with as low as 300,000 naira to start with land. And once you start, you discover that the lines will begin to align and fall in line with you. I mean, it's just, I've seen the tree of that growth. You just discover that instead of buying a Ashwebi for 1 year, I'm going to use it to buy land. Your focus and everything changes. I mean, that's what I've seen. You discover that.
Talking about Ashwebi,
one of my clients in America, she bought a property. She bought a property in January, and she was like, "Oh my God, 25 million is too much." Blah blah blah. And along the line, she booked it for a year. She was going to do installmental for a year. Yeah. Suddenly, it was her birthday. Auntie Koyemi. All I just did was that I just told anybody that wants to give me anything, please give me cash, and she used it to buy it. And this was somebody that was afraid to start, and she was like, "Oh, I regret I should have started with 3 bedrooms. So can I have an extra one now? Can I start the second one?" This is someone that was afraid to start. So the most important thing is start. And
the
then
most
everything
important thing is start. Okay, and everything else will align. So that's a word of advice. So those of us that are wise, we will start if we have not already started. Now, I've also heard of advice. So when we talk about real estate and investing it, you talked about B&B, because we have been advised, a lot of these financial advisors say that when you buy an asset, you should ensure that the asset is yielding something for you. It shouldn't just be there. Some of us look at property and say we must buy it and hold it, and then maybe sell it at some time in the future. But I heard you mention B&B. How effective is B&B in Nigeria? And is it really a good idea to buy a property and use it as B&B? What are your thoughts?
Okay. First of all, I want to say that in Nigeria, if you buy off plan, you're going to have yields at least 3 times before they even finish the property. And then once the property is finished, the property would appreciate in value. I've seen quite a number of diasporans who buy off plan. For example, I went to visit a site today. You can see me at a site on my Instagram page. And I remember a year ago when we started marketing that site as an off plan, I had a client that wanted that particular estate. We can't get one. The one that is available, they're selling it to us at 130 million. Now, if you had invested 55, 60 million a year ago in off plan, your investment has doubled. So today we are actually negotiating with the person that bought to sell it to us for 100 million. Either way, whoever bought that property at 60 million is already making money. It's not only sitting down and thinking that, oh, it's going to be an Airbnb that will make money for me. When you buy into off plans, the ROI, the returns on investments in off plans, is a multiplier effect, and it happens. At least there are 3 trajectories of growth in off plan properties. That is number 1. You can decide for that I bought it 25 million, I'm going to sell it, put it back at the market at 50 million. You have made money. That's the second way. And then you now decide that, okay, I'm going to only be in Nigeria. Is because it's possibly a gated community. We can now give it out as shortlets for people for the year. And yes, shortlets have been on the increase because diasporans, and even in Nigeria, because of in the Lekki sector, a lot of people come because of the Dangote refinery, because you know the Dangote refinery
is really opening up. Yeah.
So they are bringing a lot of foreigners. Yes, that side is really opening up. So they're bringing in a lot of foreigners, and those ones just want somewhere for the first 3 months or for the first 6 months in a very safe environment. So your property can be used for that, and then they go. And then during Christmas, during all the holidays, you'll be amazed that at least I can tell you that every Christmas and summer vacation, our young people, a lot of them, majority of them flock back into Nigeria. They love coming back home, and they don't want to stay with their parents, and then they want somewhere to stay. That is one. They want an Airbnb with their friends, and where do they always go? They go to where their friends are staying. which is also on the island. And then we have a lot of our children coming back home from diaspora. They've probably gotten a job on the island, and their parents maybe are still living in Yaba, and they don't want to stay with their parents. So they want somewhere, yes, it happens. They want somewhere where their friends are, and Lekki is a 24-hour town. So they want somewhere where there's life, and all their friends, that's where they are. So they'll probably take that from you. So on all those fronts, that you can make money on those three legs. So don't focus on the Airbnb alone. There's a short leg.
There are so many other ways to make money.
There's so many other ways to make money.
Right. We've had a little bit of discussion about getting into property for investment purposes. Now let's look at the other end of it, because you did say that you deal in residential estates or residential properties. How about people that want to buy properties to live in? Maybe, like you said, you have a lot of clients in the diaspora. They want to come back home to Nigeria and settle. The kids are grown up or married or whatever. They want to come back home and they want to buy a property. What would be your advice? And while you're answering that, let's also look at the younger people who also want to buy. How effective is mortgage in Nigeria? What fundings are available for people that want to take a loan, for example? Is it advisable to even take a loan? We're looking at the skyrocketing interest rates and all of that. So what are your thoughts and advice for people that want to buy to live in the property?
Okay. Yeah, that's really another common growth in the real estate sector in Lagos, especially right now. A lot of people in diasporas are thinking, oh, I'm getting to an age where I want a second home in Nigeria. My kids are beginning to love Nigeria, or they want their kids to love Nigeria, and they themselves, their friends and family and area. So what we do is, again, questionnaires. Ask questions. How would you want to live? What kind of apartments are you looking for? And the location. Sometimes I take them on location. I'm actually literally a tour guide, and I could do a visual tour for them or take them physically. And then once we understand that, we understand their financials. Based on their financials, we can either advise, look, you're not coming home in the next 1 year. Installment, taking a loan, and paying installmentally, and you still get your house. That is number one. Number two is some people flip. I've seen a few people that have released mortgages on their homes in diaspora and used it to get a home in Nigeria for people that want to live in Nigeria. One of my clients actually had 3 homes in Florida, and so he said he doesn't even need it. So he sold one and he just used that to buy about 3 houses. So he built a retirement portfolio for himself in Nigeria. Yes, he sold one, and the amount was enough to build a healthy retirement portfolio for himself. 2 that would be income earners and 1 for him to live. Now, on the issue of mortgage, the Federal Mortgage Bank is actually bringing out a product tailored to diasporans.
Okay, that's interesting.
Tailored towards diasporans alone. Yes, and the dynamics of it is being worked, and I can share with whoever is interested. But they ask all the necessary questions, and one of the things that is still against that is working against some of us is the age. So if you're coming in and the nearer you are to 60, the lower your chances of getting a mortgage. So if you are within that,
because you dropped it before you paid,
you might not want to look. Yeah. Which is the reason why quite a number of the developers are bringing out the option of the 18 months installmental payment to allow everyone to join.
Okay, that's
everybody to invest.
So you heard it, people. Federal Mortgage Bank has a facility that could assist many of you to get a house, and I'm sure even people that are living in Nigeria can also take advantage of that. So you need to quickly connect with my guest and get more information about that. Don't wait. She has told us that the best time to start investing is yesterday, not even today. You have to start now, and you can start with as little as 100,000. So I remember watching a video about somebody who, each time they invite him to buy ashwebi for a ceremony or a wedding or something, he would take the money for the ashwebi and keep it in a savings kitty. And the day that he broke that kitty and counted all the money, I think the money ran into about 1 million naira or so. So you can imagine he would have actually used that money to buy ashwebi, and instead he decided to invest the money. So all the ashwebi, yes, it's nice to celebrate with your friends and family, but all that ashwebi that you are spending on. Look for better investments that you can apply those funds to. So I'm still talking to my friend, Mrs. Omolabake Adetunbi, who is a real estate expert. And this is Lady Shayo Speaks. Now, sometimes when we search for properties, we see the same property listed on several sites and for different prices. It's the same property, but it's listed on different sites for different prices. So if you buy it from the wrong site, you're going to spend more. How do we avoid this kind of situation and get to the real maybe owner of the property and buy it at the cheapest possible price?
Okay, so for now, there's a lot of restructuring going on in the real estate industry right now, and for every property, most times the owners can get desperate, so they could give it to like 20 realtors and say, please help me look for a buyer. That is for standalones or whatever. They could ask like 10 or 15 realtors. They would just listen to bring the buyer, wins the game.
Okay.
That is number one. So some of those brokers and letting agents can be very, very they can be very creative with the pricing, because at the end of the day, they know what the landlord, the owner wants. Maybe the owner says, whatever you sell, but I want my 20 million. That is, brokers are selling the same house, right? But you can always get the person behind the property. You're talking to Labake, you're talking to Shayo, you're talking to Bimbo, you're talking to Nike. By the time you speak to another problem is that the clients, most clients want to sample about 20 realtors. It's like going to the market and pricing meat from about 5 meat sellers and then deciding that, okay, I'll go back to number one. So you have to be very careful when you are going around pricing, delivering. And the truth about it is that most of the houses, especially in the in gated communities that we sell and with developers, the prices are actually fixed. Okay. So if they're saying, for example, I have here something that says 4 shop 4. So the prices are actually fixed. This one like is fixed. So this developer would not allow me to add anything.
Okay, that's a better one because it's fixed. Yeah. So there you've heard it, people. Now, how important is this governor's consent and C of O when you're buying land? And how can people get it? Because I know that sometimes it takes quite a long time.
There are different titles, basically. The highest on the hierarchy is the certificate of occupancy. Between the certificates of occupancy, there's the deed of assignment that is also good. There's the excision, there's the gazette. There's so many titles, but there's a kind of hierarchy to it. Now, COO is what the Land Use Act has said, that Lagos State, the government owns all the land, basically. That is the reason, the history behind the certificate of occupancy. So the government owns the entire Lagos State. So the family has sold to you, Shayo. Now, what the family will do is that, first of all, before the family can sell, we get Lagos State's permission. Lagos State will give it to them because they own the land. So Lagos State will give them permission. That is called excision.
Okay.
Lagos State will say, okay, you can start selling your land, but don't sell these 10 kilometers because we are going to use it for hospitals and all these things and all these things. So once the family has the excision, it will be gazetted. Gazette is also a very good title. That gazette, some family use it to sell anything. They will not go and take any CFO. Now you have bought maybe 20 hectares from that huge parcel of land. You will now take the gazette and every other information that the family has given you, plus their deed of assignment that shows the history of the land, and then now use it to go and get the government's permission to start using your land. That is called a certificate of occupancy. It's the highest certificate that gives you the title that says this land in coordinates so and so belongs to Shayo, or this other land here belongs to Labake. Labake bought it from Shayo. Shayo now bought it from the family of the Faforas or something like that. So the history, the trajectory of the land will be on it. Now, does that mean that me, maybe when you have a COO, a certificate of occupancy, if I come to you, I cannot get a certificate of occupancy again, because the certificate of occupancy can only be issued for one person.
Okay.
So maybe you have 10 acres and you have certificate of occupancy, and I only want 2 acres from you. The title you are going to give me is no longer a certificate of occupancy, but a deed of assignment.
Okay, giving you the right to use that parcel.
So that deed of assignment is I will now go and get governor. I'll now go and get governor's consent on it.
Okay.
I don't need the COO. Buying from Shayo, I'm not buying all the 10 acres. I only bought 500 square meters, but I can now go and get a deed of assignment. So a deed of assignment is a valid document. A certificate of occupancy is a valid document. A gazette is a valid document.
Okay, well, we're running out of time, and it's been a very interesting discussion, especially for people that, you know, all this property and real estate, it's totally new. I know some of us are experts in it, but for those of us that are greenhorns, this has been a very informative session. So just before we finally round up, can you give us a last word to our viewers?
Yeah. What everyone like Ibeju is very good to invest in. And I'm going to tell you why. When my dad bought Allen Avenue, I'm going to tell you why. When my dad bought Allen Avenue, he only bought, I have the deed here, he bought it for 8,000 naira. And it was bush.
Yeah, I can remember. I remember. In fact, the whole of Allen Avenue was uncompleted buildings and forest.
Before we get, so there will land there. This is the opportunity for people that have never owned land. Maybe their family, their descendants, they have the opportunity. God always creates kind of opportunities when new towns are being built. Right now, Epe is a new town, and the trajectory of growth, the returns on investment in Epe in 1 year was 300%, above 300%. And in fact, the Lagos State real estate outlook for this year is showing another trajectory of growth for Epe that is unimaginable, because there's land and the topography is good. And this is the opportunity for everyone. We always say to people, go to find where people are going, go and buy land there and wait. They'll come and meet you there. There was a time nobody wanted to come to Lekki. Everybody used to say Lekki is going to sink in 15 years. But look at, this is where the new money came from.
Wow. So go to where, what was it? Go to where people are moving.
There was a tension, and even if they give it, you find where people are going and you go and buy land there and wait.
Find where people are going, buy land there and go and wait.
Buy land there and wait.
Go and wait. So there you have it, people. You have heard from, I won't say it is the horse's mouth this time around.
You will become the 5 years.
Okay, so we've heard all the advice. They say a word is enough for the wise. The best time to do it was yesterday. So if you haven't gotten some investment in land, start now. Start now and start with what you have. Don't wait until you have 50 million naira. Start with your 100,000, your 200,000, your 300,000, and it will amaze you how far you can go once you actually start. I'd like to say a very, very big thank you to my guest. It's been a pleasure. It's been a real informative session. So please enjoy this video, subscribe to my channel, like the video, share it with your friends, especially people that are skeptical about real estate. This will really help them. Thank you, everyone, and it's bye for now. Bye-bye.